Johnny, Garrick, Gatto, Gordon, Gorell, Grove, Hagman, Halderman, Hall, Harkey, Hayashi, Hernandez, Hill, Huber, Weso, Huffman, Jeffries, Jones, Knight, Lara, Logue, Lowenthal, Ma, Mansour, Mendoza, Miller, Mitchell, Monning, Morrell, Nestande, Nielsen, Norby, Olson, Pan, Perea, V. Manuel Perez, Portantino, Silva, Skinner, Smythe, Solorio, Swanson, Torres, Valadeo, Wagner, Wykowski, Williams, Yamada, Mr. Speaker.
A quorum is present. We ask our guests and visitors in the rear of the chamber and in the gallery to please stand for the prayer. We ask our Assembly Chaplain, Father Constantine Papadimos, to offer the day's prayer.
Good morning. Let us pray. Lord, love is the greatest thing, and it is all that will last into eternity. Help us to establish ourselves in love by choosing to be patient and kind, not seeking our own way, not being jealous or boastful. Lord, when we choose love instead of our own way, we show the world that you are first in our life. Amen.
We ask our guests to continue to stand. Please join Assemblymember Alejo as he leads us in the pledge. Mr. Alejo. You may be seated. Reading of the previous day's journal.
Assembly Chamber, Sacramento, Wednesday, February 2nd, 2011. Assembly met at 7 a.m. Honorable Wesley Chesbrough, Assembly Member, 1st District, presiding.
Mr. Calderon moves. Ms. Conway seconds that the reading of the previous day's journal be dispensed with. Presentations of petitions, there are none. Introduction and reference of bills will be deferred. Reports of committees will be deemed read and amendments deemed adopted. Messages from the Governor, there are none. Messages from the Senate, there are none. Motions and resolutions. The absences for the day will be deemed read and printed in the journal. Mr. Calderon, you are recognized.
Yes, Madam Speaker, members, I request unanimous consent for Assembly Members Campos, Furutani, and Pan to have guests and photographers on the floor today.
Without objection.
Also, I request unanimous consent to allow Assembly Members Alejo, Furutani, Garrick, and Hagman to speak on adjourned memory.
Without objection. Members, we will now move to the resolution relative to American Heart Month and Wear Red Day. Without objection, we will take up file item 3, ACR 8 right now. Ms. Butler, the clerk will read.
Assembly concur Resolution 8 by Assembly Member Butler relative to the American Heart Month and Wear Red Day.
Ms. Butler, you may open on the measure.
Madam Speaker and members, ACR 8 is the annual resolution making February the American Heart Month in California. The resolution declares February 4th as Wear Red Day and urges public support for Go Red for Women events. The California Legislative Women's Caucus, in conjunction with the American Heart Association, present ACR 8 with the intent to raise awareness of the importance of the ongoing fight against heart disease and stroke, and to emphasize that heart disease is the #1 cause of death for women in the United States. Today is an opportunity for all of us to reflect on the tremendous toll, both men and women, that cardiovascular disease takes on our fellow citizens. I am proud to present this resolution that is jointly authored by Assemblymember Bonnie Lowenthal and co-authored by the chair of the Women's Caucus, Senator Noreen Evans. And I want to thank the American Heart Association for annually sponsoring American Heart Month and Wear Red Day. I urge everyone to go to room 115 this morning to enhance their heart health. I believe that Assemblymember Lowenthal and Assemblymember Conway may want to speak on this resolution. When ACR 8 is brought up for a vote shortly, I request that the roll be opened up for co-authors before final passage, and I ask for your aye vote for good heart health. Thank you.
Mr. Hueso?
I'm sorry, the mic is set up for the next speaker.
Ms. Campos?
Thank you. Members, I rise today to present this resolution with great honor to the American Heart Association for their passionate and tireless work to increase awareness about cardiovascular health through the National Wear Red Day, highlighting the Go Red for Women campaign. This campaign is about making choices that will give us life. Heart disease.
Ms. Campos, hold on. I thought you were speaking on the resolution. If you could just hold on your presentation for a moment. Any other members wishing to? Ms. Lowenthal.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As Vice Chair of the Women's Caucus, I rise in support of ACR 8. Heart disease is the leading cause of death for women. It kills someone's mother, daughter, sister, or wife every minute. American Heart Month and Wear Red Day remind us to take charge of our own health, to educate ourselves, our loved ones, and our communities about the risk factors and work together toward a more healthy California. I urge your support on ACR 8.
Ms. Conway.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I rise to join my colleagues in observing Wear Red Day and American Heart Month. Every 25 seconds, an American will have a heart attack. Heart disease does not discriminate. It is the leading cause of death for men and women alike. Almost as many women will die of heart disease than the next 4 leading causes of death combined. Sadly, one of the biggest problems is lack of awareness. Just 16% of women in a 2009 survey said heart disease was the greatest health problem. So I urge all Californians to do more than just wear red. Tell 5 friends about the dangers of heart disease and learn what you can to lead a healthier heart life. I want to thank Assemblymember Butler and the Women's Caucus for their leadership on this issue, and I ask for your aye vote.
Mr. Swanson.
Madam Speaker, I rise in support of ACR 8. I also like to congratulate Assemblymember Butler and the caucus for raising this issue. I am one of those Americans who lost his mom to heart disease, and so this is very real with very painful results for families. But I think that if we do what we can, it would honor them and their memory. So I ask for an aye vote.
Seeing no further questions or debate, Ms. Butler, you may close.
Thank you for everyone's comment, and again, I ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
Ms. Butler, would you like the first roll to be open for co-authors?
Yes, please.
Okay. Seeing and hearing none, we will move to vote on the measure. The first roll call will be for co-authors on ACR 8. First roll is for co-authors on ACR 8. The clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Aye 69s, co-authors on this measure. We will take a voice vote on the item. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Okay, Ms. Campos.
Members, I rise today to present this resolution with great honor to the American Heart Association for their passionate and tireless work to increase awareness about cardiovascular health through the National Wear Red Day, highlighting the Go Red for Women campaign. This campaign is about making choices that will give us life. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in the United States, claiming the lives of 485,000 American women each year. Which makes this statistic so difficult to accept is that heart disease is largely preventable. Together we must continue to fight this disease by helping women turn simple choices into life-saving actions, whether it's eating healthier, exercising more, or reducing our cholesterol, or quitting smoking. As elected officials, we have a unique opportunity to bring public attention to the importance of leading a heart-healthy life. It is critical that we all take responsibility for our own heart health and make smart choices. I am proud to say that during my time as an elected official, I've partnered with the American Heart Association to help raise awareness of heart disease. With that, I'd like to present this resolution to the American Heart Association, recognizing February 4th, 2011 as Wear Red Day in California, and urge all of our residents to show their support for the women in their lives and fight against heart disease by wearing the color red. Thank you.
Okay, members, we have another member's resolution. Mr. Furutani.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members. Last session, the California Legislature passed the first ever Fred Korematsu Day of Civil Liberties and the Constitution. That bill went through our body, the state Senate, with no votes, and was signed by the governor. Fred Korematsu, for those of you that don't know, was a humble individual who, after President Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, which incarcerated Japanese Americans in concentration camps during World War II, stood up and said he is not going to go. He challenged the law in court, lost in the low court, and then with the help of the California chapter of the ACLU against the national chapter, which opposed this, he then went to the United States Supreme Court, where he again lost in his effort to try to stop the incarceration of Japanese in camps during World War II. He was not singular in his effort. Several other individuals, Gordon Hirabayashi in the Pacific Northwest, Minya Sui in the mid part of the United States, and later on Mitsui Endo challenged the law, and finally with her case, Japanese were allowed to leave camps during World War II. But Fred Korematsu, a native Californian, decided somewhere, somehow, that he was not going to go along with the bill and decided to challenge the United States government. This, to me, is an example of how democracy works, where one individual, for whatever reason, being upset, concerned, whatever the motivation, decides that he can challenge his own government and seek a kind of justice that only can be brought about when you have a Constitution of the United States like we have as an enduring institution. So this day that we celebrated and we observed on January 30th was the first ever in the United States. Our body was the first body that passed it, and our governor then, Arnold Schwarzenegger, signed the bill. And we had an absolutely fantastic program at Cal Berkeley. Keynote speaker was the Reverend Jesse Jackson. There's going to be programs throughout the state, as this is clearly not a celebration necessarily of an individual. It's an acknowledgement and really an appointment of an American hero, but clearly it's about the issue of civil liberties and the Constitution. And no matter the situation, no matter the time, no matter the conditions, those bills, those laws still are valuable and should be defended and are the rights of Americans everywhere. So with this, I would like to introduce to all of you the wife of Fred Korematsu, Catherine Korematsu, at the back of the session room. And with her is her daughter, Karen Korematsu, and her husband, Donald Haig. They have been the driving force behind this effort. And I would like to acknowledge the co-sponsor of the bill, Marty Block, who was the one in his district where constituents came to him. Marty and I worked on this, and I want to thank him for his contributions and effort. But Marty, if you could continue, please.
Just a couple of words. We start each session with a Pledge of Allegiance, and that pledge, of course, ends with the phrase, "with liberty and justice for all." There have been periods in our history where there has not been liberty and justice for all, and we are celebrating Fred Korematsu and his valiant, heroic effort to make clear that all Americans deserve the full account of liberty and justice. There should be no second-class citizens, and I thank the Korematsu family for their fight, continued fight, to have this day recognized here in California. Thank you.
Ms. Yamada.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I rise also to congratulate the Korematsu family for enduring many, many decades of discrimination and injustice and persevering to this wonderful celebration now that will be recognized annually, we hope, throughout California. I just wanted to share a brief personal story. As one of the 4 children born to a family who was also interned in the Manzanar internment camp near the Owens Valley in Los Angeles, I can certainly appreciate the bittersweet moments throughout this process. But we are proud in my community of Davis in the 8th Assembly District to be home to the first elementary school in the country to be named after Fred Korematsu. Now, I know that there are other schools that are now named after Fred Korematsu, but in our own community, as we struggled over the decision of what to name a new elementary school, we found that in my own city of Davis in 1943, by unanimous vote of the Davis City Council, not only was there full support for the internment, but a statement in the ordinance that said that at the cessation of hostilities, no Japanese American would ever be welcome in the city of Davis again. Well, fast forward to the naming of the Fred Korematsu Elementary School in Davis. When we learned of this ordinance, a fellow elected official who was on the school board, Jim Provenza on the school board then and now a member of the Yolo County Board of Supervisors, and I joined together to approach the Davis City Council to seek redress for that ordinance, to say that I didn't want to be an undocumented citizen in the city of Davis or unwelcome in the city of Davis where I make my home. And the City Council did agree to rescind that ordinance just a few years ago. So I just wanted to share that story publicly with the Korematsu family, that your father, your husband's work carries on in ways large and small, in ways that we may never even know as we continue this journey to justice for all Americans. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen and friends, I want us to all join together and welcome the Fred Korematsu family, celebrating his life and legacy now and in the future. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share.
Mr. Cedillo.
Members, let me add my voice to the chorus here today. After the passage of some time, we all acknowledge and recognize the tremendous contributions of the Korematsu family. They have been an inspiration to those of us committed to social justice in our community. But let's take this moment not so much as a celebration of history, but as a lesson for today and the future. Let us acknowledge and recognize that it was during a time of war, that it was a time of economic crisis. It was a time in which we had a national hysteria about the presence of Americans, residents of our nation and our state, who because of the hysteria, because of the lack of a cogent, thoughtful, sober discussion of the issues of the day, that we violated our Constitution, that we responded to those who are out there, much like today, who are caught up in this zeal, this somewhat type of pitchfork and torches, this anxiety that permeates so much of our national discourse, the vitriol, that it was the same type of circumstance that permitted us to take Americans and residents of our state and place them in these concentration camps. And so let us not just celebrate the tremendous determination of the Korematsu family and others who fought to make sure that justice prevailed, but also let's reevaluate. Take this moment to reevaluate our circumstances today, our discourse, the vitriol that permeates too much of our discussion. And let's look carefully to see if whether or not are we somehow engaged in similar conduct as we try to discuss some of the difficult issues today. We should not be so excited and challenged by a discussion around marriage. We should not be so overwhelmed that we can't have a proper and appropriate discourse about immigration policy. We should be very thoughtful and considerate of others' views and ideas so that we don't get overwhelmed by the moment of the day, the hysteria of the day, and that we really have a discussion that ensures that the end result is justice for all. I thank you.
Okay, members, we will now move to the resolution relative to Lunar New Year. Without objection, we will take up file item 2, ACR 11. Right now, the clerk will read.
Assembly concurrent resolution 11 by Assemblymember Pan relative to the Lunar New Year 4709 celebration.
Mr. Pan.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. On behalf of the Asian Pacific Islander Legislative Caucus, I rise to introduce ACR 11, recognizing today, February 3rd, 2011, as the beginning of the Lunar New Year, the Year of the Rabbit. As Asian Pacific Islander communities throughout the state prepare to ring in the new year, I would like to share with you some of the traditions that are part of the festivities. On your desk, you will find a red sheet providing an explanation of the 12 different animal signs representing different years of the lunar calendar. I encourage you to look up your own year. Those who are born in the year of the rabbit, and you can see which ones, who they are said to be witty, creative, noble, and sensitive. The tangerine, which you'll also find on your desk here, is a symbolic of good fortune in Asian cultures. The round shape of the tangerine signifies family unity, and its golden color represents wealth. In addition to the visual symbolism, tangerine in Chinese language sounds the same as the Chinese word for luck. So certainly we could use a lot of good luck this year. During customary visits of friends and family on the New Year's Day, tangerines are given as a gesture of goodwill. Children and unmarried adults are also given red envelopes, which makes it a very popular holiday for the kids. So you have these envelopes contain money for good luck, and the symbolic money is to wish good fortune and wealth for the new year. And the money is sometimes used to pay off debt. But red, and it's appropriate today, is Wear Red Day, but not only for its more serious representation for what we talked about earlier, it also represents as the color of celebration in many Asian cultures, and it represents good luck, vitality, and joy. So the red envelopes that you do have on your desk are imprinted with Chinese characters with messages of good luck. Unfortunately, these envelopes don't contain new money, but they do contain lucky candy. Members, thank you for celebrating the Year of the Rabbit with the API Legislative Caucus and 5 million Asian and Pacific Islander Americans in the state of California. Thank you.
Mr. Fong.
I'd like to wish everyone a happy Lunar New Year in my first language, which is Cantonese. So, Kung Hei Fa Choi, San Nian Fai Lo, San Tai Kin Hon. Thank you very much.
Seeing no further questions or debate, Mr. Pan, you may close.
Thank you. Members, I ask for your aye vote and the roll to be open for co-authors. Thank you.
Okay, members, the first roll call will be for co-authors on ACR 11. Co-authors, the clerk will open the roll. This is for co-authors. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. There are 71 co-authors. We will now take a voice vote on this item. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. If members could focus on the back of the chamber, Mr. Pan has a special presentation. Mr. Pan.
Okay, thank you, members and Madam Speaker. At this time, I'd also like to share the symbol of the koi fish with the Assembly. Paintings and decorated food depicting the fish symbolize success in the coming year. And the actual word in Chinese for fish is yu, which also translates into abundance. According to legend, the koi is noted for its strength and bravery because it swims against the current. The koi turns into the revered celestial dragon when it makes its goal. So at this time, I would like to present to our leader, Speaker Jean Torres, a gift of a drawing of a koi from the API Legislative Caucus as an expression of our wish for prosperity in California this year. The drawing is from a local artist, and our state faces many challenges as we start this legislative year, and we hope, like the koi, we will overcome our fiscal difficulties and bring jobs and abundance to the people of California. So, Mr. Speaker.
This concludes the business on the daily file in the regular session. We have some requests to adjourn in memory. Mr. Alejo.
Madam Speaker and members, I respectfully request that we adjourn in memory today in honor of Ann Soldo, an outstanding leader of the Croatian community. She was born and raised in the Pajaro Valley and became a leader in Watsonville, first as an educator and then as a prominent political figure. She was elected to the Watsonville City Council in 1979. She then became the first female mayor of our city, leading it from 1983 to 1987. Her work in education spanned 40 years as a teacher in local elementary schools. Her passions for public service and education were further demonstrated when she taught children of American military families on bases in Germany during World War II. Soldo was also very active in the community, working with such organizations as the Watsonville Women's Club, the Salvation Army, the American Red Cross, Cabrillo College Foundation, and the Pajaro Valley Historic Association. A Renaissance woman, she hosted a Croatian news and music program for 30 years on a local radio station. Furthermore, she was influential in fundraising drives to rebuild St. Patrick's Church after the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake and to create the Henry J. Mello Center for the Performing Arts at Watsonville High School. Today, members, we pause in honor of a great woman and public servant who dedicated her life to the people of the Pajaro Valley. Thank you.
Mr. Garrick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Appreciate the opportunity to rise and ask that we adjourn in memory of one of my fellow Solana Beach residents, Claudia Akers Shalito, 73, passed away at her home in Solana Beach on November 21st, 2010, surrounded by her loving family after losing her battle with cancer. Claudia was born on December 17, 1936 in Eureka, California. A lifelong resident of California, Claudia grew up in Modesto and lived in San Francisco, Palm Springs, and Sacramento. She moved to Solana Beach just 7 years ago. Claudia graduated from Thomas Downey High School in Modesto in the first graduating class. She attended Modesto Junior College and graduated from San Francisco State College with a degree in art history. She was a strong leader and was the runner-up in Miss California Cotton. She worked her way through college as a model and held many interesting jobs, including one I think we'll find interesting when I share it with you. She began working right here in the state capitol and worked her way up to the assistant to the Speaker of the California State Assembly, then Speaker Bob Moretti. It was here that she met her beloved husband of 24 years, Bob Shalito. Claudia loved tennis, was very competitive, and won her first singles tournament at age 12 and kept playing until just last year. At 72, she was still playing. She was an avid dog lover and never went anywhere without her dogs. She also had a gift for flowers and filled her homes, both inside and outside, with the lovely things like flowers and others that she loved. Claudia loved to travel and spent many memorable times in Europe, Mexico, and all around the United States with her husband, family, and friends. Claudia and Bob were always active in their churches, and Claudia found great comfort in her church and Jesus Christ. Claudia leaves behind her son Eric Hudman, and her daughters Dion Solito. She also leaves behind many stepchildren and many grandchildren and great-grandchildren. I ask that we adjourn in memory of Claudia Solito.
Mr. Hagman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, today I rise in adjourn in memory of former U.S. Congressman and decorated war hero Wayne Grisham of La Mirada, who passed away at age 88 on January 19th from respiratory failure. A former council member, state assembly member, and member of Congress, Wayne Grisham was best known for his civility, his smile, and his love of his family. Grisham grew up in Long Beach and married his high school sweetheart, Millie Watt, who he was married to for 66 years. He graduated from Whittier College with a bachelor's degree in economics and did his graduate work at USC before serving as a fighter pilot in World War II and receiving the Purple Heart after his plane was shot down over Germany and he became a prisoner of war. In 1956, he opened Wayne Grisham Realty in La Mirada and became involved in the community, serving as president of the Chamber of Commerce and the Board of Realtors. He entered politics in 1970 when he was elected to the La Mirada City Council. In 1983, he was appointed by then President Ronald Reagan as director of the Peace Corps in Kenya. A year later, he came back and ran for state assembly, serving 4 years before returning to his real estate business. Grisham is survived by his wife, his 3 children, Kathy Brooks, Randy Grisham, Campbell Grisham, and 5 grandchildren. Therefore, today I ask the Assembly to adjourn his memory of Wayne Grisham. Thank you.
Mr. Furutani.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker and members. I rise to ask you to adjourn in memory of a very special person in the greater Los Angeles area. Her name is Helen Summers Brown, but she was known by the Asian Pacific American community and Filipino American community as Auntie Helen. Auntie Helen was the first Filipina to graduate from UCLA. She then became a 3rd grade teacher and an education advocate for all children, but particularly Filipino American children throughout the LA Unified School District and beyond. She was an individual that was not only an advocate, but someone that really worked in making sure culture, language, history, and all were a part of the education experience for all children in the LA Unified, and particularly the stories of the Filipino American community. In 1985, she founded the first ever, which still exists today, the Filipino American Library. The Filipino American Library is a major resource for education and information about the Filipino American community, and it's located in the historic Filipino town in the Temple Street area in downtown Los Angeles. Again, thank you very much for allowing us to adjourn in memory of Helen Brown, someone that everybody in our community knows well, loved very much, and we're going to be sorry for her passing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, members. Please bring the names to the desk to be printed in the journal. The session schedule is as follows. Friday, February 4th, no session, no check-in session. Monday, February 7th, floor session at noon. All other items remaining will be passed and retained. All motions shall be continued. I'm ready to entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Calderon moves. Mr. Hagman seconds that this House stands adjourned until Monday, February 7th at noon. Quorum call is lifted. Republican caucus in the Rules Committee room right now. Republican caucus in the Rules Committee room right now.